Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Gateway Board of School Directors Study Session meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nobody can see the flag when I sit here.
Can we have a roll call, Bonnie?
Mr.
They're all
Clary.
pointing my ass.
Mr. Clary.
Here.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Here.
Mrs. Delaney. Here. Mr. Gallagher is not here. A speakerphone either, is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. Gottman.
Here.
Mr. McIntyre.
Can confirm.
Mr. Ritter.
Here.
Mrs. Warning. Here. Mr. Williams.
Thank you. I would like to report before we start for the record that we had a 30-minute executive session to discuss contract negotiations and personnel matters. At this time, I would like to invite our student presenter, Erica Jackson, to the microphone. Welcome, Erica.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's fine.
Hi, my name is Erica Jackson. I am the president of the Black Student Union here at Gateway High School. The leadership consists of 6 members, myself, Senior Alicia Lee, who's the vice president, Junior Savon Williams, who is the treasurer, Junior Nate Taylor, who's the secretary, Junior Lance Young, director of communications, and Junior Takai Barber, chief of peoples. This year, we have had numerous meetings. They occurred bi-weekly on every other Wednesday. Our discussions have spanned from colorism, police brutality, and even a game of Jeopardy, which were questions based off of the African American history and culture. February BSU was very active. We had a door decorating contest here at the Gateway High School. Teachers and students participated in a chance to win Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and the winning doors was a two-way tie between Miss Carl Russell's room and Mrs. Miller's. We also had a guest speaker, Dr. Alexander, who is the guidance counselor at Penn Hills, to speak on her doctoral thesis concerning the generational trauma of slavery. We also had weekly meetings of weekly BSU meetings during all of February. Now, as of Tuesdays, for all of March, we have been mentoring first graders at CSE from 2:45 to 3:30. It's been a fun learning process. In the future, we hope to have a GET Awards, a rendition of the BET Awards to celebrate African American students here at the school. We hope in the future to fundraise so that we can have BSU t-shirts and wristbands for everyone.
That's awesome.
And that's all.
Thanks for the update, Erica. Anybody have any questions or comments for Erica?
I happened to walk around the high school to view a number of the doors. I thought Mrs. Barkey should have been in the running. I'll just say that, but shout out to Mrs. Barkey. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing the pictures on Instagram, too. I saw a lot of the doors on Instagram. I like the Roberto Clemente door myself.
That's cool.
Did anybody sign up in advance? One canceled for speaking?
Okay.
Is there anyone here then who wants to speak on agenda items? First, it has to be an agenda item. If not, if you're here to speak on non-agenda items, we'll give you another chance later in the agenda. Okay, also, I would like to move Section F to our first section of discussion, just because we have some guests here that are going to be participating in that discussion. So rather than make them wait, Mr. Schott, let's move right into Section F, administrative resolutions.
We actually have one action item for this evening in Section F. I'll draw your attention to is item number 1. Approve the extension or amendment to the current software as a service hosted license agreement with Skyward, Inc. for a 3-year period beginning on July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023, per the terms and conditions as depicted in Exhibit A. Please note the district will save money each fiscal year through the extension of the above agreement for a 3-year period instead of through a year-to-year extension by receiving fixed-rate pricing. The Skyward software is utilized by the district for various student management and reporting activities. The district must approve and return the amendment to Skyward prior to March 15th, 2020, in order to take advantage of renewal terms and conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Gottman. Any questions or discussion from Mr. Schott?
I got one question. With the renewal, is there a change in how much money we'll be spending per year with the fixed rate?
That, I don't have that item with me. I'm not sure if Micah
Is Micah out there?
is out there. He could probably attest to that.
Yeah,
Or chime in, there we go.
There is
Can
a
answer.
very slight cost increase from 5 years ago. It mainly has to do with them just adjusting the cost of their new licensing model, but it's very similar to what it was.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Micah.
Behind the curtain somewhere.
I know the man behind the curtain. Anyone else?
It's our lifeline.
Okay, let's do a roll call, Bonnie.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney. Aye. Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Aye. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Caleri.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Shaw, continue.
Sure.
I'll take those and I'll get to them.
Section F. Items for discussion.
Some of the
We're gonna go
papers might be a little
We'll
out of
go,
order.
okay.
We have 30-day public display for financial algebra textbook.
Item 2, 30-day public display for the new courses for the 2020-21 school year. Item 3, policies, final approval. Approve the following updated policies that were placed on 30-day public display beginning February 11th, 2020. It's policy number 220, student expression, distribution, and posting of materials. Policy 913, relations with special interest groups. Item number 4, policies, 30-day public display. Approval to place the following policies on 30-day public display. It's
Okay, let me interrupt.
policy,
Sorry.
second.
I think most of the board's missing
Page
items
2.
3 through 5 on that.
Yeah.
yeah.
We just pulled it up on it.
Copy of my,
You're not the only one.
we're gonna make copies for them.
We can come back to,
It's on the agenda on the website. I think you all have
Yeah,
access to it.
that's where we're going from.
yeah,
Hopefully, we've all read it before we can tonight.
Twice.
Okay. I could hear mumbling, everybody's.
Dennis, can you start again with those items that were not listed so everyone could pay attention and at least hear it? Good.
Okay,
Item 3.
item number 3, policies for final approval. Approve the following updated policies that were placed on 30-day public display beginning February 11th, 2020. Policy 220, student expression, distribution, and posting of materials. Policy 913, relations with special interest groups. Note, draft policies can be viewed in board docs. Under the Policies tab, select Draft, then select Book, then the drop-down and menu, and you can select Public Review. Item number 4, Policies 30-day public display. Approval to place the following policies on 30-day public display. Policy 222, tobacco and vaping products. Policy 323, tobacco and vaping products. Policy 707, use of school facilities. Policy 805.2, school security personnel. And policy 904, public attendance at school events. And these draft policies can be viewed in board docs.
If I could add that underneath facility agreements, I would like to make item number 5, and it would be number 2, Grace Life Church, an action item, facility rental.
And Mr. Brown is here to speak to that, but we have a request to rent our facility, correct? And there's a sense of urgency because they would like to start using it in April
Yes, on both items.
on both Grace Life Church facility rental
Yeah.
and our,
Yes.
you want to step up to the mic? All right. Can I get a motion while he's coming up to the mic to actually put this on the agenda as an action item?
Motion put on the agenda as an action item.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Caleri, second by Mr. Williams. Is there any public comment on putting this as an action item? I have to ask that. No, and then we have to vote to make it an action item.
Mr. Brown?
When you're ready, wait.
Mrs. Delaney. Mr. Gottman? Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning? Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Caleri?
Aye, sorry.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Just happened.
Aye, yes, affirmative. Okay, now it is officially on the agenda as an action item.
Okay.
Mr. Brown.
Grace Life Church had two requests, one for their Easter egg hunt and one to rent our facilities on a weekly basis for a year term at this point. They, the reason for the action item would be to expedite it in order to prepare for those functions, making signs, getting the information out to the public so they can attend the Easter egg hunt, and then all the signs required for directional signs within our building to prepare for the Easter holiday. So that's the reason behind the action item rather than waiting till next week. It does take time to prepare all that stuff.
Just so the public is aware that we've had multiple church affiliation groups rent our facilities in the past, Gateway Middle School Auditorium as well.
That's correct.
Is this gonna put any kind of undue or, pressure on you and your staff to make things available, or
Not
any
at
kind of
all.
shifting around of anything?
Actually, these have been quite well accepted by our staff and relatively easy for us. These type groups have been exceptional in the past for us to work with. So I really have no second thoughts about it.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, well then with that, I should seek, is there a motion to approve rental? Can you ask after I ask the motion and we'll have discussion on it?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the rental 1 and 2, and a second by Mr. Gottman. Now you may have discussion, sir.
With the use of our high school auditorium, right? Yeah, the high school auditorium. Is that going to interfere at all with the potential musicals that we hold every year?
No, Mr. Brown says no.
We work with Mr. Helchi on that, and not hold it, the days, the matinee, which is on a Sunday. And we did work that out in advance.
Okay.
So you're saying our school will always provide,
Our school always
will be
comes
provided first opportunity
Absolutely,
in
yes.
any type of facility rental. Nobody supersedes our own students.
Correct.
Okay, do you have anything? Any other questions or comments? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning? Mr. Williams? Mr. Clary?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney?
Okay, both motions carry. Now, where were we?
Go back to section F,
Section F, section,
item
item
number
6.
6. Mr. Shaw.
Item number 6 is appointment of professionals resolution of the Gateway School District, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, to declare the school district's intent to appoint certain professionals to undertake of a project to finance certain capital projects. Specifically, the school district desires to appoint Piper Sandler and Company as underwriter and Bruce E. Dyson Associates, PC, as bond counsel to assist the district in taking the project. Item number 7 is formal action constituting a debt ordinance under the Local Government Unit Debt Act, authorizing the incurring of non-electoral debt by the issuance of general obligation bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $40 million, covenanting to pay and pledging unlimited taxing power for payment of the bonds, establishing a sinking fund and appointing a sinking fund depository, fixing the form, maximum interest rates, maturity dates, and other provisions for the payment thereof, covenanting to accept a proposal for the purchase of the bonds, authorizing a filing of required documents with the Department of Community and Economic Development, ratifying and directing certain actions of officers, and making certain other covenants and provisions in respect of the bonds. And that entire document is depicted in Exhibit A. And I'm going to review the rest of Section F, and we do have some professionals here this evening, which we will bring up to the podium to explain items number 6 and items number 7. Item number 8, approve the Tricog Land Bank's notice of consent to disposition of property for 3 previously acquired Monroeville properties located within the Gateway School District, as depicted in Exhibit B. Note the district is a member of the Tricog Land Bank. Above approval represents the first property disposals or the marketing for sale to a private entity by the Tricog Land Bank within the Gateway School District. Item number 9, approve the advertisement for bids from contractors for the Gateway High School rear entrance enhancements. Note the above project will be included in the Capital Reserve Fund budget for the 2021 fiscal year. Item number 10, approve the feasibility study to be performed for the Sunrise School and the district's proportional payment, which is 1/8 of $8,900, or in the base amount of $1,112.50, plus a 1/8 share of the printing and copying to be charged to HHSDR Architects/Engineers for total services as depicted in Exhibit C. Note, this district is one of 8 school district members who comprise the Eastern Area Special Schools, which owns the Sunrise School. The Eastern Area Special Schools Joint Committee representatives previously approved utilizing HHSDR Architects and Engineers to perform the Sunrise School feasibility study. Item number 11, approve and authorize the district's submission of all materials required by the Pennsylvania Department of Education for the Plan Con Part K project refinancing for the general obligation bonds federally taxable refunding series of 2020 as depicted in Exhibit D. Item number 12, approve the district's purchases and payments for the following technology department items during the 1920 fiscal year, specifically for Apple Incorporated, one remaining equipment lease payment for 370 MacBooks in the amount of $126,451.17, and through vendor Firefly, purchase of 900 new HP Chromebooks with warranty through CoStar's program in the amount of $228,600 for a grand total technology department items $355,051.17. Note, the above items will be purchased and paid for during the 1920 fiscal year instead of during the 2021 fiscal year to reduce expenditures in the 2021 fiscal year general fund budget. Additional department purchases for the technology department and other district departments may be presented for board consideration and approval during the remaining 1920 fiscal year board meetings. Item number 13, recognize the following district booster club, which has properly submitted an application to the district for the 1920 fiscal year, specifically boys baseball. Note, the above group does not represent all district's booster clubs for the 1920 fiscal year. Additional booster clubs and support organizations have been previously presented for approval and will continue to be presented for approval later in the 1920 fiscal year by season and/or as they properly submit their complete applications to the district. Item number 14, approve the indenture between the Borough of Pitcairn and the Gateway School District for the borough's sale of real estate known as block and lot number 746-P-154 to the Genesis Corporation, specifically through the district's release of the reversionary interest it holds in the real estate and the creation of the restrictive covenant prohibiting future utilization of the real estate for any type of school as depicted in Exhibit E. Note, the above property was a former 2-story brick school building previously owned and operated by the Gateway School District. Item number 15, approve the 2020-2021 fiscal year Allegheny Intermediate Unit Number 3's Program Services Budget, or POS. The total POS budget for 2021 is $2,202,973 and reflects an overall increase of $58,317, or 2.72% in overall expenditures, greater than the current 1920 budget. The total district allocation by state subsidy withholding for 2021 for all school districts is $1,811,545, reflecting no increase from the 1920 budget. The district's share of the allocation by state subsidy withholding for the 2021 will be determined by the Pennsylvania Department of Education according to the district's aid ratio and weighted average daily membership. The district's share currently estimated for 2021 is $68,697.32 as depicted in Exhibit F. Note, the district realizes savings from joint programs and other joint purchasing efforts through its participation in AIU number 3 during each fiscal year. The approval of the AIU number 3 POS budget allows the AIU to be in compliance with Section 914A 69I Act 102 of 1970, which requires the AIU 3 to have its POS budget approved by at least a majority of school districts comprising the intermediate unit. Item number 16, approve the advertisement of the district's milk bid for the milk services and related food items for the district's food service department during the 2021 fiscal year. Item number 17, approve the purchase of portable air conditioning units to be utilized for the Moss Side Middle School with a total expenditure amount not to exceed $24,000. Note, the air conditioning units will be purchased and paid for during the 1920 fiscal year instead of during the 2021 fiscal year to reduce expenditures in the 2021 fiscal year general fund budget. Item number 18, accept the following district donations received during 1920 fiscal year, specifically Temple David miscellaneous food items and the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank miscellaneous food items. Recipients Jen Hoffner, utilization is backpack program for all school buildings. With that, we will go back to items number 6 and items number 7, specifically related to new issuance of new bond debt. We actually have our bond underwriter here, members from Piper Jaffray. Chris, if you'd like to get up and talk a little bit about,
Would you rather have maybe bond counsel discuss the resolution that's being?
oh, Pat can, he can do that if you'd like to do that,
So
sure.
everyone will have a context in which I can give you.
Oh, sure, that's fine, yeah. Pat Healy.
Pat Healy, good evening. Pat Healy with Bruce Dyson Associates as your bond counsel. Item number 6 is a resolution for the appointment of professionals for the bond issue. It's separate from the bond resolution itself, which is item number 7. This is the same style of resolution that you adopted back when you did the refunding bonds earlier. It appoints, as it pretty clearly states, Piper Sandler as your underwriter, Bruce E. Dyson Associates, PC, as bond counsel, and authorizes us to assist the district in undertaking the project, which in this instance is actually item number 7, issuance of debt in order to do certain capital projects and renovations throughout the district, most pointedly the middle school. So that's the number 6. You want me to jump to 7? Sure. So 7 is your formal, longer bond resolution, similar to the bond resolutions you've adopted in the past. And what it does is it authorizes the issuance of up to, in this instance, $40 million worth of bonds. As you know, in the past, that number will be, as Chris will let you know, less than $40 million. It just provides flexibility when structuring the bond issue under state law submissions that we have to make. So we overestimate it's a not to exceed resolution. The project described in the definition section is the project I just mentioned, capital projects within the school district, including expansion and renovation of the Moss Side Middle School. Gateway Middle School. It basically allows designated officers to enter into a bond purchase agreement when the bonds, as Chris will mention, are actually priced at some point when they're done with the rating agencies and the other hoops that you have to go through. The designated officers will be empowered to say, yes, lock it in, and sign the bond purchase agreement. We won't need another board meeting or any more formal approvals like this. So it provides flexibility, as we've discussed in the past. It pledges your full faith, credit, and taxing power to back up the bonds. It authorizes the same designated officers to work with me in completing documentation for submission to DCD, which I do, and then all the closing documents, which will be circulated to the working group, as we've done in the past. And then I will come back out sometime before the closing date, which will be set by Piper Sandler, to get president's signature and the secretary's signature and probably the vice president's signature. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I can turn it over.
We may want Chris to talk.
Chris is, yeah, you turn it over to the real interesting guy.
All those people in TV land are tuning in to hear about the bond market.
All right. Paul, I'll ask, were you able to distribute what I sent you yesterday?
Yes, I did.
So
email that out
everyone
to you.
has received, otherwise I'd hand it out again, but if everyone has it, we'll be good to go. Thanks. I'm Chris Shelby with Piper Sandler. Last bond issue we did for you, we were Piper Jaffray, but we have merged with another company, actually not merged, but acquired another company, and so now we're Piper Sandler. Mr. Jaffray is sent on his way. But not really. Anyways,
Yes.
I was going to say, is he retired? And
Mr. Jaffray's had enough of this business. But anyways, first off, I guess you've all seen the market.
We're going to need a replacement.
Yes, we will be forwarding you replacements so you can throw out those old silly folders.
yeah, that's right, which we all carry with pride.
We have about 200 of those in the office that we are looking, in all honesty, to give away. And if there's a school district that would like them, You're welcome to them. They're kind of nice, but anyways. To bring you up to speed on the market, just very briefly, I know you've seen the news, you've probably heard there's a virus going around, and it is having a fairly serious impact on the market, and as a result, we have a 10-year bond, which was floating around 2%, 2.25%, now down at 0.8%. So
Say that
not
one more
even
time.
one, pardon me?
Just say that one more time so everybody
The
heard that.
10-year bond is now at approximately 0.8%. That would be your return if you invested your money in the U.S. Treasury today for 10 years. And if you go for 30 years, what is it, Chip? 1.02? 1.29. So the 30-year bond, if you want to spend your money there, will get you 30-year return of 1.2%, which is very exciting for the investor, but it's much more exciting for the school district because rates are now absolutely at the lowest point they've ever been in the history of our country, and or at least since they've recorded rates. And with that, that's where you're exploring the market right now in terms of your financing for the new money. Just as a reminder, we just closed on your refunding issue that was mentioned earlier, and that closed just on March 3rd, and the results for the school district were over. Just to bring you, maybe, I know you have a lot of things on your mind, but I know we set a minimum for that savings of $750,000 minimum, otherwise no deal. And the school district, I think, the result was $1,060,000, maybe in total $1,164,000 over the remaining life of the bonds, resulting in about a $70,000 to $80,000 per year reduction in the debt service that existed on those bonds. So you have that going into this, and that's good. Now, embarking on this, we're looking at, as was stated, a $35 million project fund. And as Pat mentioned, the parameters resolution set $40 million as a maximum. And the reason you do that, again, is because of state law. You have to have some amount that protects you well over the stated amount. If you did get a chance to see what I sent Mr. Schott, right now, in order to raise $35 million for the project, it appears as though we'll have to issue literally approximately $29 million in bonds, because the market is such that we are, the bonds being issued, and they're tax-exempt bonds. The last were taxable because it was an advanced refunding, which you couldn't do with tax-exempt bonds, but this is with tax-exempt bonds, and now we're looking at them drawing a premium. In other words, their coupon rate or the stated interest rate on the bonds will be higher than their yield. That means that we'll sell them for more than $1,000 a piece, and the premium that they're sold for accrues to the district. And by selling them at that premium, it reduces actually the bond issue size by $5 or $6 million in the par amount that you'd be issuing. Just to go over briefly, to provide $35 million in the market today, it won't be the same when you go there. It may be better, just as with the refunding issue, came out far better than the $750,000 that you said. It looks like we are looking at an annual increase of about $1,175,000 per year. And that would, and the entire payment would be completed in 2041. And the all-in arbitrage yield of this bond issue for really 21-year financing is about 1.81%. That is your borrowing cost. It is ridiculously low. It's the lowest we've ever seen, especially for a 21-year bond issue. Your rating is strong. You're stable. You were just rated for the refinancing. We expect the rating process to be brief, or somewhat brief, because actually Paul's been through it twice, because we went through it late last year in hopes of doing the refunding. The market ran away from us, it ran away from you, and then the market came back strong, and we were able to get the financing done. Paul was faced with another rating agency meeting. this will generate another one as well. But I don't think it'll be too difficult for them. They're pretty familiar with the district right now. So what we would be doing from tonight, just as with the refunding issues, we begin the preparation of documents, which should be, again, somewhat expedited because you're still within the same fiscal year. We don't have any really new attachments or demographic changes to the school district that are going to raise any alerts to the rating agency, and therefore you should just be in excellent shape there. And then, at that point in time, after we complete the new document, the new preliminary official statement document, we will then be coming back and taking another look at the market. That'll probably be in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks from tonight. We'll take another look at the market, making sure nothing has gone crazy that would surprise you versus the numbers that we were able to distribute. And upon everything being somewhat the same, we'll move on to the rating process, because the rating is an expense of the school district. We are not in this process until the bond issue is actually sold, but the rating is an expense to the school district when it is undertaken. But of course, we'll get a last look at the market and make sure that everything is as you're seeing it tonight, or within reason to what you're seeing tonight. And at that point in time, we'll go for the rating, 3 weeks from tonight, maybe 4 weeks from tonight, go for the rating. It's about a 10-day process again, and then we'd be prepared to market your bonds. And as Pat Healy said, you have designated officials of the school district so that you don't have to reconvene. You're designating school officials tonight to approve the bond issuance, obviously subject to what all the board members are hearing here tonight. And if we don't meet those standards, or just as on the refunding issue, if we hadn't exceeded the minimum, it could not have been done, nor would have been authorized by the appointed officials. So I'm here for any questions. We have a little bit of preparation work to do. Again, you're going to have another look at all of this, at least through Paul, and distributed through Paul, even if it isn't through a meeting, just so that you're all reassured everything is what you're seeing or heard tonight.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for questions or comments by board members. Anyone? Go ahead, Mrs. Delaney.
I just wonder, what are some of the worst possible scenarios? I guess I'm looking at the market being so volatile right now.
It's been so volatile, but it's been so volatile in the direction of the school district. I mean, if it were to drop off, you'd still be historically low. If you lost 0.5% today on interest rates, if they went up 0.5% by the time you got to do this bond issue, you'd still have historically low interest rates. So you're anything could happen. Unfortunately, it looks as if the coronavirus is having sort of a permanent effect on the market, and foreseeably, I know every college, my daughter's college is about to be closed, and she's going to be sent home. I heard Kent State's shut down, Harvard shut down, Michigan shut down, Indiana shut down, Ohio State shut down, and they're all just it appears as though it is a little bit more the crisis mode, and maybe it's all social media driven, but unfortunately, the impact is on the economy, and what has happened is everyone's getting out of the stock market and buying U.S. Treasuries to protect their cash because they're so fearful of the market continuing to drop, even though it was back up a little bit today, but lost 2,000 yesterday, gained 1,000 back today. But I would say, in other words, you're protected because we aren't moving you into that market tonight. I wish we could, actually, because we know where we are today, but we're going to know where we are before you make that next move. And we're going to make sure, I'm sure, in your board and those authorized will make sure that you're well.
So maybe can I recap in layman's terms, is that, Gateway has been pursuing the idea of renovating Gateway Middle School. We have architects, we have plans going. We weren't really prepared to go to market with bonds yet, but because the market is so low and we can borrow the money now and lock the rate in at a 1.8%, basically is what we would be paying back. We're looking at this now. It doesn't mean that we're starting construction next month because we haven't finalized things. What we're doing is trying to be responsible and act on preserving that capital that we need for our project while the financing options are very affordable for the Gateway School District.
Yeah.
Is that a fair
I
assessment?
mean, yeah, and hopefully you'll be able to look back. I mean, I don't know how much lower or how much better the market could get. It could get worse. I can't help but think over the next 5 years, you're gonna look back and say, we really hit it at the right time. Can't guarantee anything, but it certainly appears when we're only getting 0.8% for a 10-year bond and 1.2% for a 30-year bond. There isn't that much room to go that much lower, you know, so I think you're
Shaw?
relatively safe.
I do have a couple things just to share in general. I mean, obviously, this has been very volatile economic circumstances, but I did look back. The first time that Piper Sandler had prepared a $35 million new money calculation was back on January 27th. To examining that calculation to today's current calculation, March 10th, and looking at the entire debt service. Again, the market's moved so much that when you look in the total columns on page 5 in the document, and you compare the total in terms of over 21 years, we would be paying now, what was calculated back on January 27th, the district would pay a total of $50,695,300. Now, paying out the full 21 years, and again, this is assuming there's no other refinancing opportunities available, $48,783,707. A savings over 21 years, we would not be paying $1,912,000 in interest.
So it's almost a $2 million savings
Yes.
in 2 months is what you're saying?
Yes. Now, as Mr. Shelby said, whether we see that in another month, if we're ready to move forward into the bond market, we don't know. It may get better. It's possible. We don't know. But these are historic times with that. Now, I do have to mention, this is a good situation, but we are faced with a slightly negative situation I want to bring to everyone's attention, and in terms of the Federal Reserve Bank. When we set this year's budget, starting probably September, probably around September, the Fed's already moved 3 times last year. We know last Monday they moved another 50 basis points. They're scheduled to meet next Wednesday, the 18th, probably another 25, maybe 50 basis points. We don't know yet for that. So, we're looking at a situation with new bonds. We're locking down cheap money for 20 years to do our big projects and smaller projects, but we're also taking a hit on the short term in terms of interest earnings. And
You're trying to tell us that our interest rate income is down?
Yeah, and specifically interest earnings that, to the point where when I'm looking at projections for next year, I've had to lower our interest income, which is the interest we earn on excess cash deposits until we were required to use them, a $500,000 decrease. $500,000 decrease. What does that mean? That means in next year's budget, there's $500,000 less to pay for expenditures. So, that is a significant item. You'll hear me highlighting that again when we meet our first meeting on April 7th, our first Budget Finance Committee meeting up to high school LGI at 6 p.m. But again, so, there's some good, there's some bad. It's more of a short-term thing. But again, in terms of this new money, we're looking at a longer-term great situation that we have the opportunity to take advantage of through the issuance of these new bonds. And most importantly, to address much, much needed capital projects that we've been talking about for 6-8 years in the district for that. So again, just wanted to highlight that, as we keep hearing, the rates are moving and, the proliferation of the coronavirus, there's a lot of different things going on. There's good, there's bad to that. So again, just wanted to highlight that and bring it to the board's attention and all of our stakeholders' attention as well.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I understand, the idea of this being a historic opportunity to save a lot of money, and that makes a lot of sense. My question is, I don't think anybody here as a board member has gone through anything quite like this. We're not, in the bond market or a construction field, for the most part. So my question would be, you guys deal with this sort of thing a lot, with issuing bonds and renovations. Is it typical that a district would issue the bond before actually having a price finalized or approval for the actual renovation? Like, I'm wondering if this is the standard or if this is kind of the cart and horse situation.
I'll tell you, probably in my experience, it's 50/50. If you're in a position where you can get bids and you have all your drawings done, that's a great benefit. But in fact, we've probably done every bit as many issuances in advance on estimates. And I guess the motivation, I know you have some expenditures that would be forthcoming over the next 6 months or so, but as well, just the realization of where rates are, I think may be motivation enough for this, let alone that you are not extraordinary by looking to finance a project in advance. You just aren't.
Let me just say that we represent more than one school district. I'm familiar with other school districts and other solicitors. Everybody's doing this, whether it's a refinancing or new projects. They're doing it because of the rates. Again, I can't say it, they can't say it enough times. This is below depression numbers. I mean, this is historically the lowest it's ever been. If you're even contemplating doing something like what you're suggesting, everybody's out there doing it at the various school districts. So it makes sense just from that alone.
And just like our bond refinance, we'll vote on this next week, and then if it's approved, you will come back in 3 to 4 weeks, and we'll examine it again
Right.
before we pull the trigger on the bond rating.
And so, our next meeting is April 14th. So hopefully you've come back to us before then. This is March 10th.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we'll have the process nearly completed or at least into the rating phase. But even prior to the rating phase, you're going to get a look. We'll certainly communicate through Mr. Schott so he can communicate with the board or however you'd like that communication, that you can see numbers to see if they correlate to what you're looking at tonight.
Now, I know you guys are busy right now. Put us at the top of the list.
Well, all right.
I'm convinced.
Of course.
Good answer.
You are right on top.
And if I could add, Mr. McIntyre, that was an excellent question. We have been meeting weekly, myself, Mr. Brown, central office, and Mr. Telly, with Axis Architecture Group in establishing drawings. And the numbers that we have compiled at this point, and we are constantly retooling, revising, but it does look as if we will come in at that 35 million or below number. We have planned a building and grounds meeting, and I sent the 19th of March that we will be able to preview drawings that we have compiled to date with some other information pertaining to Gateway Middle School renovation. So on March 19th, we will have a building and grounds meeting.
You just said March
Just
19th.
Yes.
one last just thought or comment. Mr. Schott, it's my assumption that with this increase in debt service, this would require at least at a minimum 3% tax increase. Am I correct?
It will definitely take the full index for this year.
So, just so that the board's aware that, it's a great opportunity for us to do this. We're talking about $40 million. We're talking about the next 21 years of the district's finances. And we're talking about an increase the taxes at the maximum, allowable percentage for the foreseeable future. So
No, be careful how you say that.
But
1 year of tax increase.
Correct.
Not
Well, it's 1 year, but
every year for
it's-
the next 30 years.
no.
I just want to make sure
that tax
wasn't
increase
perceived wrong.
is in effect for those 21 years as well.
The millage rate would
Right.
go up,
Yeah.
correct?
Compounding, but it won't automatically trigger something every year specifically related
Correct.
to the debt.
Right, that's why I say the minimum of 1.
Yes.
Correct.
And one of the things we're doing, like the other resolution that was on here, that, we are, constantly, as a matter of fact, we're meeting tomorrow and reviewing the budget as well. This is such a large item, such an important item that we are trying to get into the budget. And we're looking at everything, and particularly one of the things that you'll hear through the rest of the process when we start meeting, LGI, what items can we, in terms of expenditures, either pump the brakes on to stop for next year, maybe take a pause with, or what items can we move into the current year that we can spend now, just like we saw these other expenditures. We have some other ones we're also going to be taking a look at, bringing forward with that. But again, it's how can we make this happen to take the great advantage of this opportunity? This is a significant, might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in terms of this type of financing to try to pull this off and to get the required capital that we need to undertake those required renovations that we've been discussing.
And then I would point out when we go into the Building and Grounds Committee meetings too, and the public meetings on Building and Grounds, that we'll also be looking at when the project is done and we close the Moss Side Middle School, what those savings out of our annual budget will be too with the building closure, and how much of our new debt that would offset. So there'll be a lot of public input, and I hope, people will come to those meetings and participate and give their input on what they want their schools to look like and how much, they're willing to pay for the updates.
Yeah, I agree. Public input just sparked it for me right now that, when we discuss an athletic director, a football coach, a basketball coach, my phone vibrates off the table every night with emails, texts, phone calls. We have a line out the door. We're talking about a $40 million bond issue here, and if we don't, I'm going to be very disappointed in our community if we don't at least get some kind of public feedback here and get some people asking questions and holding us accountable for this. That's your job as the taxpayer.
So do we have any more questions for Chris? Because if not, we could let him go and we could move on to our other items for discussion. Board members?
Thank you.
No?
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, Chris. All right, we can open up discussion now or questions for the other items in section F. We discussed 6 and 7, but there's quite a few here. Does anyone else have any questions? What, Mr. Clary?
Nothing.
You could tell all of us.
Were the first 3 guys that left your guys?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Pat Healy works for Dyson.
I was just wondering who they were.
The other 3 work for Piper.
Okay.
Just real quick, there was an item that was added fairly late to the agenda. Maybe the board didn't have a chance to really review it. Mr. Brown, would you mind doing your favorite thing here and let me grill you?
You talking about the air conditioning?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you're gonna ask how many air conditioning units that is?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I already know.
I was requested to look into the possibility of adding some air conditioning to some of our unconditioned schools, which we do have 4 of them. In the haste, it's not just Moss Side Middle School. We do have 4 schools that do not have central air. In order to purchase at the quantities and at the best prices, I looked into this. In essence, if we wait till August or September, quantities will not be available. The prices will not be at all negotiable. So we looked at it now to be able to be ready for those times of the year that are kind of unbearable, especially in our schools with 2 stories. And 2 of our buildings are in that situation. So right now, we're looking at it, and if we do get approval, we will negotiate the best numbers to be able to do this for the fall.
These are window units.
These are all window units, high efficiency. Also with that, with the upcoming potential Gateway Middle School project, the movement of the number of students into this building would potentially double. So the heat factor would be exceptionally high.
And at that point, we would have the opportunity to, any of the
Also-
units that we use at Gateway that will currently or
repurpose
buy,
everything
we'd be able to move
in the
over to Moss
district.
Side.
But right now, those 2 buildings, that one and this one, have the least amount. We are really asking a lot out of our staff to bear with it. We have quite a few rooms that have nothing. So,
And for the public to understand that there would be no movement of students for the 2021 school year. We would operate with the same buildings. We would be looking at down the road for the 21-22 school year for move-in. We'll have further information about that.
But this way, we would be prepared to handle this fall and the next, spring and fall with the higher temperatures that we deal with.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Should we make him go back up and explain the rear entrance enhancements?
Before I sit down?
By the way.
Might as well.
Could you
while we
tell us
have
how
him.
you're enhancing your rear entrance? Thank you.
That's right. It's kind of personal.
A little on the nose.
We would like to go out and get the drawings in place and look at, to get bids out to the public for the rear entrance of the high school, which is currently our most used entrance in the district.
You're speaking of the loading dock and the
Well,
LTI?
which now that you're all familiar with having meetings, that we ask you to enter a loading dock next to the dumpsters.
Basically.
We have no ADA accessibility there. It's a dangerous area for drop-offs for students, for after-school activities. So we've looked at this for a few years now, and we would like to bring that area to a well-lit parking lot that's much safer for everybody. And it's also easier access to our facilities, so nobody gets lost coming through the doors. It just makes a lot of sense with what's there, with the number of people that come into that every single day. It's unbelievable how much that area gets used.
Whatever you guys have done already, it looks a lot better, by the way.
Well, we did,
You moved
we moved the
It actually
dumpsters.
did. That helped us so much.
We picked up some parking spaces. We made those
That's what it was.
handicap.
Yep.
The extras, we made those into handicap spaces.
That's why I couldn't put my finger on that.
Yeah, so we were able to pick up a few spaces. So,
When you do this rear entrance, will you be eliminating any classrooms?
we will be, in essence, cutting through, which is a tech ed computer lab, which currently we have 3. We have 2 teachers.
So you're saying you can use the space?
We
another
can,
way
yes, and we're not eliminating the entire class. We are putting a corridor through it, still utilizing it within the other existing classrooms.
Okay. Anyone else? You can sit down, Mr. Brown, thank you.
For now.
Oh, yeah, one more thing.
Anyone have any more questions, discussion on section F?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
All right, for section 12, for purchases, with the 900 new HP Chromebooks. I know since I've been on board, I mean, we've sank a lot of money into tablets and Chromebooks and whatnot. So I'm just, a question, what are these replacing? This is addition to what we bought before? Are they replacing something we just bought a few years ago? So trying to look more details into the Chromebooks.
Micah, did you hear that question?
I did. So those Chromebooks would be dedicated to the high school to complete their one-to-one initiative, where every student will be assigned a Chromebook. It won't be replacing anything necessarily, except for there's old laptops in some of the classrooms that will no longer need to be used. Students will be using the Chromebooks in those cases. These Chromebooks would also be going home with the student every night.
Do the Chromebooks have the tracking software like the tablets do?
They do not. Chromebooks don't have the same level of GPS tracking that the iPads do. In that case, there is loss mode in some of the monitoring software we're getting, which will help recover the Chromebook, but it will not report its GPS coordinates.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else? Section F, last call. Okay, move on. Let's go to section D, bills and financial reports.
Mr. Shot again.
Searchy, Section B. We have listed this evening for financial reports, Section B1, list of bills for the month of March 2020, Section B2, monthly financial statements for the month of February 2020, and Section B3, budget transfers for the month of March 2020. We present all three sections this evening for the board's review.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we have no items for Section C. Let's move on to Section D. Mrs. Crump, and we do have an action item tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Yes, we do have an action item. We are requesting that resolve that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda. Item 1 is listed in Section D for the study session meeting of Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. We are requesting approval for 2 substitute food service workers, so that way we have all of their clearances, all their paperwork's in. We can get them started for training, as he is in major need of people in the food service department.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Galtman. Is there any questions?
What are we doing? I'm sorry.
Hiring two.
We're hiring an action item for food service workers because they are in desperate need, so we don't want to wait. Everything's in
To
order.
get the process started, to get
We
them in
wanna
place in time, we have to
Get them
vote on
moving
it tonight.
quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Caleri.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The next is Section D for the March 17th meeting. We have 4 resignations to present to you. We do want to congratulate Karen Backus. She's the food service manager at Evergreen Elementary. She has submitted her retirement resignation, and after 12 years with the district and 5.5 years at Evergreen Elementary, she will be retiring from the district. We have presented 7 leaves of absence in number 2. Under transfer, we have 1 per the collective bargaining agreement. Section 4, we have 5 issuance of supplemental contracts, 1 athletic worker, and 4 volunteers.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Crump?
So we have, is the first one an FMLA? Can I ask that?
They are all different leaves. They all fall underneath FMLA, maternity, child leave, or sabbatical.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on to E, conferences and conventions. Is that you, Dr. Chakey?
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Under Section E, conferences and conventions, we do have 4 conferences as listed. Conference number 1 for Dr. Guy Rossi to attend the PA Federal Programs Conference in Seven Springs. Also, we have Carrie Kunich and Sarah Pastor to attend the PA Speech and Hearing Conference at the Sheraton Station Square, and also Michael Brown to attend the Skyward Users Group in Harrisburg, PA.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
What's this guy Rossi thing? What's he want to?
Believe me, I don't want to go to that.
You don't want to go to Seven Springs?
Yeah, like
Short straw. All right, let's move on. Section F, administrative report. We have an action item. No, we did that already. I skipped that. Section G, resolutions presented by board members. Let me get there. This is. All right. So we have approval of board member request from Mrs. Warning to approve reimbursement in the amount of $8,671.27 for various food-related items purchased on her own for the district's backpack program. Do you want to just kind of explain that for everybody?
I recognize the fact the comments have been made and issues have been raised about spending of taxpayers' funds without board approval, and I completely understand the concern over this issue. However, I would like to point out that funds spent on this backpack program are not taxpayers' dollars. The program is very fortunate to have received donations from very generous donors who are instrumental in the success of the backpack program. To date, the program has received over $23,000 in donations. Donations that have been received are to be used for the program, which means no taxpayer dollars are used. The cash outlays that I have presented the receipts for still leaves $14,000 in the backpack fund, which was established by Mr. Schott. I just want to emphasize that these funds are generous donations and not taxpayers' money. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Okay. Well, let's first go to our attorney, because I do think that there's a problem.
Is there a motion, or?
No, it's not an
this
action
is
item.
just an
It's
item
not
for
an action
discussion.
item, not until next week. Technically, there were donations to the backpack program, but those donations are going to the Gateway School District, not our Gateway Education Foundation. Is that correct?
That's right. So technically, it's indistinguishable from taxpayer contributions.
It's not that it's indistinguishable. It's in the general fund, which is commingled with taxpayer money.
Yes.
It's not separated.
So
When a donation is made, it becomes the property of Gateway School District.
Okay, we had a meeting when one of our executive sessions, when it was brought up last year at this time, we had packed 1,235 backpacks. We had one school for the whole year. So far this year, we have packed almost 5,500 backpacks, and we still have 2.5 months to go. Nothing has came from the district, and when the program started, I know we talked to Dr. Short, the board said as long as, they were fine bringing in 4 elementary schools, as the principals had reached out to Ms. Hoffner asking if they could participate for the needs of the students. They said as long as it would not cost the district any money. So I'm not saying, but I did go out and get donations, so there would be no turmoil to the district with having to spend any of the district's money. I was not told that a credit card had to be used till after I had given Mr. Schott the receipts, and that's when it came to a head. And once, if you agree, I read the memorandum that you said that you had sent an email telling me about that. I don't remember the email. If you could give it to me, I would appreciate that.
Can we back up a little bit? Who's in charge of the backpack program at Gateway?
Jen Hoffner.
Did you ask Jen Hoffner permission to purchase products for the backpack program?
Correct.
You're saying you did ask her permission to purchase?
Yes.
And she gave you permission to purchase
Correct.
product?
We had a startup date of 10/25, which I had told the board, and we had no supplies, anything for the students.
So, did you ask Mr. Schott before you purchased any product for the backpack program if you were authorized to do that, or if you had any procedures in place to do that?
I did not, because in the past, we had used donations from what we had received.
So up until the time when you purchased items, are you saying that nothing was purchased at all? Or Mr.
Correct.
Schott, can you answer that? Before Mrs. Warning made her purchases, have you purchased anything at all for the backpack
No,
program?
not in terms of and there was specifically a total of $23,250 that was actually donated and deposited into the general fund for that. Up to that point, we have not expended any of those funds. We have expended currently 3 purchases via the district business office that totaled $776.56, which leaves a remaining balance of $22,473.44 of those deposited funds.
And I think don't you have copies of the receipts? I think some board members had asked for copies of the receipts. Do we have those?
Yes, I do.
Yes, please, Mr. McIntyre.
Mr. Schott, what would the normal protocol be for such expenditures?
All expenditures go through the district business office. We initiate every purchase throughout the district, whatever the case may be. Typically, we utilize a purchase order system where we control the purchase, sending that out for that. Depending on the type of vendor utilized, some of them do not accept the purchase order, which we do have district procurement cards. It's our purchasing alternative that we've utilized. In this situation, the 3 purchases I previously mentioned, we had to utilize the procurement card, but we did place the order. My department placed the order. One gentleman in Mr. Brown's department went and picked up the order. Sometimes he was able to present the procurement card, scanned it through to complete the transaction, to bring a receipt back to us for that.
Would you, I would assume that Mrs. Hoffner would be aware of this protocol.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Have we checked with Mrs. Hoffner to make sure that she's aware of this is how spending is supposed to be incurred?
Yes.
And whether or not she actually did give permission or, clearance to make these purchases, or was there maybe just some kind of a misunderstanding?
I actually have an email from Jen Hoffner, and I can read it. It says, "I did not give authorization for anyone to make purchases on behalf of the district for the Gateway Backpack Program."
Okay.
When
Now-
was that sent, can I ask?
That was February 19th.
Just a couple more questions for Mr. Schott. The total here was $8,671. Was that all presented to you at one time in receipts?
No, the bulk of it was presented initially up front, and then I believe there was two other bundles.
At the time of the first receipt, meeting that you had with Mrs. Warning, did you advise her that this kind of spending was out of protocol and that this was not allowed?
Yes, when I first encountered the receipts that were in my bin, I did send out an email to her, and I did, matter of fact, the first line item is, "Please do not make any additional personal purchases under any circumstances for the backpack program. District employees must initiate the purchases."
What is the date of that email?
That was December 6th.
Were there any receipts given to you after that, the receipts themselves of purchases were made after the date of that email?
Yes.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mrs. Warning or Mr. Schott?
Sure, I have one for Mr. Dice and Mr. Schott. I've been trying to come up with different ways to repair this, if possible. The only one that I could think of that could be viable is the fact that money was given to the district with the intention of using it for a program, a backpack program. It was given by some anonymous donor, and no one knows who this person is because it's anonymous. If that money could be given back to that anonymous donor, and that anonymous donor asked to take some of that money that's been returned to them and apply it towards these bills, these invoices, would that be, tell me what you think about that approach. Is it even possible to do?
I think that's a question for our attorney.
Yeah,
Is that even possible to do? Would it strike at the heart of what caused the problem? Would it make more problems?
So let me see if I got it right. You're saying
Can you give the money
the
back?
anonymous donor would ask for the money back?
No. This board would notice that money was spent on a program in an inappropriate way, and we're trying to find a way to repair that. So we
Yeah,
would
but
give the money back to the anonymous donor and ask them to apply it in order to repair a broken bridge.
Right now, it's Gateway's money. This
Right.
board can choose to, this board, acting as a board, can choose to spend that money any way it chooses to spend it, or reimburse it, to use, I think your word is. It's up to the board.
Okay, so that's the legal answer. I'm not satisfied with the legal answer because the goal is to try to get some food to these kids that need it. And that doesn't do this.
All right, I'm going to direct you to your folder, if you haven't looked at it, is a legal opinion on the messiness of the situation, okay? And there were some questions, you all have this, can be emailed to you. I think maybe we need to go through some of these questions and answers.
Everybody's got that, right?
Yes.
I don't know that you want to do that in a public forum.
Okay.
It's
Well,
it's an executive session matter because
Okay.
it deals with personnel.
All right, well, we won't do that, but he's asking some questions that I think are answered here legally. It's my understanding that we cannot do what he's suggesting
And that's fine.
legally.
Yes. So the legal answer is we can't do that, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, I don't know how you would word it. You would justify it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Or how Mr. Bove was back there obviously volunteering that he was in fact the anonymous donor. We'd have no way to verify. We'd have no way to verify.
He's now asking for a
Back to
refund.
me, I think I straighten this whole thing out. All right.
Okay, I can ask a question that is not personnel related, and that is, what does the PA school code authorize expenditures for school board members?
And that's outlined in the memo too.
It is, but you told me you didn't want me to read the memos.
Well, okay, there are very specific things that you are able to do. You can reimburse yourself for meetings, trips, any business-related functions that have to do with your acting as a school board representative. Seminars, trips, business meetings. You can allocate so much for per diem for meals and things like that if you're going away. And you see it from time to time on our sheet as we handle this with our employees. It's the same for school board members. That's it.
So if the school district would authorize reimbursement of these receipts to Mrs. Warning, are we putting the district in a bad situation as far as liability? Or are we putting fellow board members in any position of liability? And what position of liability would that be?
Based on a plain reading of the school code, you can only give to board members for those reasons that I just outlined. It's not because a board member goes out and spends money that he or she thinks is well-intended. And I don't think anybody at this board thinks that the money was spent other than for well-intended purpose. But the problem is it doesn't fit within the school code of one of the reasons why you can reimburse a board member.
So if we vote to reimburse and it's not an authorized, what are the consequences?
Well, as set forth in the memo, as Chelsea wrote it, there can be a surcharge to the members that vote to do that.
What is a surcharge?
Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. Any resident, any taxpayer within the Gateway School District, which is Pitcairn and Monroeville, could bring an action in court to have you individually pay back that money that was paid out improperly. That's a surcharge.
And can the district be surcharged in addition?
Sure. If I was representing that person, you'd be suing the district and the individuals. You personally.
Well, how much of this food's left?
With what has been purchased, all the food has been used, and they just I just put an order in today through the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank, which we do have an account with, that hopefully should last us to the end of the school year.
Did you just say that you put an order in?
Which we do.
I'm not clear on that, because I'm just sitting here listening to him say to you that the district employees have to handle purchase for the backpack program, and you just said that you just put an order in for food today. Could you please clarify that?
I talked to Mr. Schott. He gave me I believe it was a W-9 form to give to the food bank to fill out, and it was set up.
Well, I think those orders, if I recall, you mentioned that that's free donated food.
No, the actual food that has been purchased through the food bank. Jen Hoffner, Karen Montgomery, and Aaron Smith all have access to that to go in and order. So there was no credit card, it was just to be on a billed-to basis.
Yeah, because I was under the impression that those were donations from even talking
There are
from Jen-
donations,
Jennifer
there was
Hoffman.
a lot of donations. And then there are that they need, what is sent home.
Because we've never been billed from them.
No, I want you to go ahead and ask your questions. That's not what I meant. I didn't want to end the discussion. I don't want to be the only one asking questions here.
As what is sent home every Friday with these students? They have 2 breakfasts, one for Saturday, one for Sunday. They have 2 lunches, one for Saturday, one for Sunday. It goes to the students at the elementary schools that have been designated as being recipients. We have also had calls from Westside Middle and the high school to have food. There has been families that are in need of food that has accommodations have been made with that. that has been with the donated food, nothing that has been with the purchases.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So, this is pretty messy. There's some assumptions being run here that we've got to stop running off assumptions. And what I was saying, stop is, go ahead.
Paul, you've heard what Valerie has said. Are you two on the same page with these things or not?
No.
Meaning,
Paul Schott.
Oh, no, I know, I was answering for him.
I'm
He's
sorry.
not.
Neither Paul.
Okay, and what's off the page?
Well, as far as, yes, we do provide all different entities W-9s. That's a standard protocol for an entity to set up an account. And that's typical information we even collect as well from entities. But as far as with the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank, the district has not received any invoices from them, related to the program for that. I've not received one. I think the only one that was included was one that you had submitted for reimbursement that was in the PAL. That's the only one I've ever seen. From talking with Jen, I was under the impression that quite a bit of that food was basically being given as free for that, which when I heard that made sense because I haven't seen any additional invoices for that. It's been a number of months, and typically an entity is going to bill, it's going to be once a month, looking for payment for that. So again, other than the one invoice that was submitted for reimbursement, I have not seen any, so I didn't have any issues assuming that that's what that was donated food towards the program that they were able to make available. So again, it made sense.
Paul, who submitted the bills that have been paid?
Those were submitted through our purchasing protocol. So say, for instance, we have an order through Aldi's. One I was looking at here, I have it right on the top. Jamie Dumich in my office would initiate the purchase online or call them. Jamie McMullen would go and pick that up. He would have his procurement card. It would be swiped. That would initiate the payment. The receipt would come back. And then when we reconcile our monthly procurement cards, we have the receipt, we code it to the proper account, tracking for the program, and that's how that operates.
Yeah, but who, did Jen order the food and then submit it to Jamie?
I'm assuming someone would have given it to Jamie to initiate that. That I would assume would be Jen since she's in charge of the program.
But you're not sure?
No, I don't, the information I have with the receipt doesn't show who initiated that, other than I know that we initiated that.
And where is the food stored? Where do we keep all this food?
I think some of it is at, temporarily, my understanding, at University Park until it goes out. If they can't take it to, I think, one of the churches where some of the packing
Reclamation
is done.
Church gets all the food, the donations and everything, because that's actually who does the packing. They have different groups that come in. Last year, we were able to pack the 67 students that we had at UP. We were able to pack them. But with over 300 students now, it's quite an on-taking to do that. So Reclamation Church has graciously volunteered to do the packing every week.
So when you bought all this $8,000 worth of food products, how much time was that from when to when,
Well,
roughly?
I would say the program started going home October 25th. I believe the purchases, I'd have to look at my receipts, in September.
So it's from September to maybe December-ish or January. You purchased this product and then you took it to Reclamation Church? Is that what happened to it?
It went to University Park, and then Reclamation Church approached us and asked if they could do the packing. So then everything was transferred over to them.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I'm pretty frustrated here. It sounds like my wrinkled idea is the best thing that I can still see to do, and that would be to try to send some money back to that anonymous person and have them try to repair it, because I don't see a way for us to
How are we going
repair
to
it.
send money to an anonymous person? I would just like to know
So what
that.
do you think about that, Mr. Shaw?
I think that's an impossibility.
Why is it an impossibility?
Because who is the anonymous person?
So there's no note on the check that
Nope.
describes who the person was? Okay.
No.
So that
It was a
makes that-
cashier's check, right?
that
Yes,
makes
it was a
that
bank check. There's no way to trace it
impossible.
back.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
What was your comment?
Exactly that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Bova, just as a recollection, I remember when this donation was accepted, and I didn't necessarily make a stink about it, but I did raise the fact that I was not comfortable with an anonymous donation, that, things could get murky down the line, and I believe you came at me in the middle of that meeting, so
I'm sticking with
apology
my
accepted.
story. No matter where
All
the
right.
money came from, the issue is how it's being spent,
Right.
not how it was collected. So don't go back in time, Mr. McIntyre. You were wrong complaining about a $20,000 donation then.
He's
You're
sticking
wrong
to it.
now.
Well,
Problem is how it's spent.
Go ahead, Mrs. Delaney.
I guess I wasn't on the board when things probably initially started, so I can't speak into that. I guess I'm still just trying to understand, we did get a donation of money from someone to use at the discretion of the school board, and
The
if it-
district to use, let's clarify.
Correct.
The district to use.
Well, the district to use for programs such as the backpack.
Correct.
So we didn't obviously go through the proper channels or protocol, but the money is still available that could be applied to
Correct.
The backpack.
the backpack.
There's $20,000 allocated to the backpack program in the general fund of the Gateway School District.
Okay. And are we saying basically because the protocol wasn't followed through in terms of these receipts that we cannot apply those receipts to?
The problem is that, I'm going to try to summarize, I think. The problem is that Mrs. Warning has good intentions to help kids in poverty, which we
Right.
all admire. Nobody's questioning that. The problem is that she overstepped her duties as a school board member and purchased products without permission on behalf of the Gateway School District and then sought reimbursement, which legally, there's question on if we are allowed to reimburse a board member for said purchases. Because, in essence, Mrs. Warning is now doing business with the Gateway School District. It's almost like she's acting as a wholesaler or give me another word. An agent, a buying agent, because she's buying and selling things as a board member, and there's a potential ethics and duty violation that we as board members are not allowed to work for the district, we're not allowed to be employed for the district, we're not allowed to do business with the district. So we know you're not technically doing business with the district, but on paper you are. And the other problem is that you assumed because there was a $20,000 donation that it's not taxpayer money. But legally, when money comes into the Gateway School District and it's received by us, which it was a donation received by us at a board meeting, and it went into our general fund, it's all taxpayer money according to the law. So even though we have money for the backpack program, when we reimburse you, we can't really distinguish that. So what you have done unintentionally, I believe is totally unintentionally, is put the district and your fellow board members in a really bad situation. You have set an extremely bad precedent because none of us should be buying anything for the Gateway School District and then asking for reimbursement for that. We shouldn't be buying anything.
Or donating
Or,
and asking for it back.
Correct.
If I buy a lawn tractor and donate it to the baseball team, comes to property in Gateway.
And you shouldn't get it back.
Right.
That's exactly right.
so now we're all
Doesn't work.
sitting here wondering how to rectify this
And we
because
can't.
you've basically just donated $8,500 to the Gateway School District and we don't know if we can pay that back to you.
Now, tax-wise, if that's a personal donation, she's able to write it off, right?
We would have to
could-
accept it as a donation.
We could give her a letter thanking her for her purchase of food for the backpack program in the amount of $8,600. Could we do that?
Write off.
It would be acknowledged in the same section we have on the agenda this evening we reviewed with the other food donations.
I mean, maybe if this program was run through the Gateway Ed Foundation, it would be different. At one time, we had a foundation, a charitable foundation, which was separate, but that foundation is not in operation right now. So the backpack program is being run by the Gateway School District. Did I summarize that? Okay. Is there anything else?
I still have some concerns about that. I mean, where is the food stored? Is it stored safely?
Reclamation Church is
No.
locked up.
Does it need refrigerated
No,
or?
it's all non-perishable.
I have one last question for me. Going back to the new food order purchase for the food bank there, is it possible to track down who was the one that submitted it? Paul?
I told you I did.
Oh, yeah, I mean, with the paperwork that you have.
Not from the paperwork. I'd have to check with Jamie and see where the contact came from for that.
Okay.
For this. I mean, and ongoing, like I said, we've made 3 already that I'm aware of that has come back in terms of receipts for that, is how I was able to tabulate that amount of money.
Okay.
Are we sure that Jen is the only one allowed to order?
Well, Jen, and there's a number of teachers, again, that she has been able to work with. We have the 2 counselors. There's another teacher over there at UP as well. Yeah, it's kind of like a committee team of district members. But again, the team collectively goes through my department, the business office, to procure those items for that. So we can ultimately control that. We do that with everything. That way, if someone submits a purchase, whatever it may happen to be, you know, if there's something that we know down here that we either don't want you to make that purchase, or maybe we've changed something with that purchase, we can stop it. You know, we control it. We control it every step of the way for that. That's why we utilize that function for that.
Anyone else?
By the way, this is the first time I'm seeing this manila folder here. It was written 15 days ago, so it would have been helpful to have gotten a copy of it a little earlier.
You have until next week to review that, sir.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else? Shall we move on? Think about this for a week? Okay. Comments from residents on non-agenda items. Finally, you guys talk.
So sorry, buddy. You all picked the wrong meeting to come to.
Yes, sir. Step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. You need to be a Gateway resident, your taxpayer. And you have approximately 3 minutes.
I'll be quick. So my name is Koshat Maftoglu. I'm a resident of Monroeville, also a Gateway School District parent. Do you need the address on the record, or should I fill it in?
When you sign it.
Well, I'll sign it in. So I wanted to share some views and frustration with the board on a topic which you may already know or about to deal with. This snowballed into some very uncomfortable situation for some of the families in our school district, which started from a drama in the girls' swim team, which was subsequent to an event.
Sorry,
Just so you know, this matter has been taken up in executive session. This is a personnel matter, and we're not going to entertain any public comment on this at this time. The board ultimately may have to act as a quasi-judge in this matter, so I don't want them to hear anything. The administration is investigating this matter, and if you have anything you want to add to or subtract from, I would suggest that you contact Dr. Short tomorrow and give him your information so that we can have a full record of what it is. The administration then will make a recommendation to the board at some time, and at that point, your comments will become noted to them, but not until then.
Okay, very good. So first of all, you didn't hear what I was going to say.
Well, I heard...
I'm having
Why don't
problem
you
with
set
the
up-
way this is being handled.
Why don't you tell him what he can speak to before?
Well,
What?
I don't know what he wants to speak. I think he wants to
Talking
speak...
about Apple Jacks, he can, but.
Yeah, he can speak to, if you think...
Okay, sir, I have a problem with the school principal interviewing my daughter with 2 police
Okay,
officers
that's a
without
personnel
informing.
matter. That's something that you have to take...
It's my
up.
problem.
I understand it's your problem, and I appreciate that, but it's one that you have to take up with the administration first. Then it comes to the board, not until that time. And you certainly have your rights to complain about whatever it is that you want to complain about, but do it through the process, because we could prejudice the process if we start to put things out of order. And I would suggest to you that if you talk to an attorney, he would explain that to you.
Okay.
Just right now, it's just it's a matter of timing.
At what point in the process are we including in this investigation? I was not contacted
Well,
until I showed up here.
okay, and I would suggest to you that you may not have been contacted because they just may not have gotten to you yet or weren't aware that you had something positive to say or negative to say.
So
Now
how
that
is
they-
this a fair process if you don't listen to my side of the story?
Now that we know about it,
You're not allowed to discuss
Yeah, we're not
personnel
gonna do it on
issues at
television.
a public meeting. It has to be done in private.
I wasn't
You
going to
go-
discuss the personal matter.
Well, you mentioned a principal, so that's a personnel issue.
now you're singling out somebody.
And that's against the board policies. You
Again,
can't,
The bottom line is you're going to get your chance to talk and say whatever it is that you need to tell us, just it isn't done in a public meeting on television with all to hear about it when we start naming names and talking about performance of employees or students or any of that.
That's to protect both the students and the employees, which is our ultimate goal.
Yeah, the longer this process goes on, unfortunately, the victims are being penalized.
Here's what I'd suggest. Get with Dr. Short after the meeting, give him your name, phone number, and let him put his staff in touch with you.
Okay, thank you.
It's not that we don't want to hear from you, it's just right now we can't. hear
That's
from
right.
you.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, again, you're going to have your day.
How do I know that?
Because I told you.
oh,
That's part of the school code.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
is there anyone else you wanted to talk?
Maybe not now, right?
I feel like, do they understand? The kids understand?
Well,
They don't understand.
sometimes, if they have questions, they can come up after the meeting and talk all they want. But they're just not going to do it on the floor here and talk about names and people.
And the other thing is that he tried to mention is that if there's a situation with any employees, and it comes to the board at a point, we almost act like, think of it like a jury, okay?
Prejudged.
We can't have any information ahead of time, because then we can't vote or participate at all, because we're now biased, or we've now been privy to information that we shouldn't have.
So if you've ever sat on a jury in a real trial, and the court case goes on, and they lock you in a hotel room, they don't let you read newspapers, they don't let you talk to the Joe walking down the street. This is kind of one of those situations where any information that we hear now actually could be detrimental to the case one way or the other. So we have to stay impartial. I know it's frustrating, but it's just, this has to run its due course.
So if you do feel that you have to make some comments after this meeting, you have to make them to Dr. Short, or Ms. Trump, the staff. Don't single out board members, because again, they're the ones that are going to ultimately possibly be charged with hearing this matter.
You can send letters and emails to Dr. Short, to Mrs. Crump.
And I've been in conversation with you, sir, and
You
We
can,
had one conversation.
you can schedule
And 2
private
weeks ago,
meetings.
And we don't know what's going.
And, you know, I can't comment further, and for the students to understand that with any information individually, grades, transcripts, et cetera, I mean, it's all private and confidential information, and likewise with any employee and any person involved in the district, it is a confidential matter. And a public school board meeting is not the forum where we need to discuss events that happened, events that triggered your presence here tonight.
So does the school have a policy about informing the parents when police officers interview their student?
Again, I cannot comment at this time.
School policies, school district policies.
The policies are online. They're available on the district website. We can have further conversation about that at another time, but not in public.
I would
setting.
suggest that you schedule a meeting
Yes.
with Mr. Muftulo to discuss his concerns. It's in private, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if you're having a hard time scheduling a meeting with Mr. Short, you can call Mrs. Cerrucci and she'll make that happen.
Just trying to be.
Just trying to help. I'm helping.
I think that's
Trying to
gonna
reduce the
happen.
levity of the evening. It's also 8:45, and these poor
Yeah.
kids have been here for 2 hours almost, and now they can't talk. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything up at the high school that we need to know about that's bothering you? How's clubs? How's prom? How's the dress code? Anything else we could talk about?
Actually, we're doing a full program.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Please come up to the mic and tell us about your program.
Something positive, please.
We want to end on something positive.
All right. Hi, I'm Anna Seeger. I am a student at Gateway. Sorry. It's not about this.
We know.
The Spanish 4 kids. The Spanish 4 kids, we've been going to University Park to teach first graders Spanish.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And next year it might become a class.
That's even more awesome. Thanks, Anna. You do wonderful,
Yeah.
Anna.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. She's crying about the other situation. Anybody else? All right, I think we do need to go to superintendent's report, though, Mr. McIntyre.
I agree.
You want to give your report now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Dr. Short, emphasis on short.
I got it. First and foremost, hopefully everyone had an opportunity to look at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review a couple days ago, in fact, where the headline talked about test scores, rankings of high schools in western Pennsylvania. And I was ecstatic to see that the Gateway High School ranking of 85.5 was, I think, 8th or 9th in Allegheny County. 9th. Right there with Mount Lebanon, Pine Richland, and some other school districts that we constantly hear about. It just reaffirms what we've said here multiple times, that the education that our students receive, and of course our parents and guardians play a strong role in that part, is truly second to none. And I always thank, and I send an email to the staff of the high school acknowledging their work on that, but it is a district-wide effort because all of our kids do matriculate through the schools at one point or another, and our students should be proud of that ranking. It's represented by the signs up in a high school for U.S. News World Report Best High Schools in the country. So my hat is off to the staff, our principals, central office, and ultimately our school board for truly buying into the system that we put in place nearly 5 years ago. We're doing an incredible job. Also, I recently sent out a letter to the parents and guardians regarding the coronavirus. And we heard from a gentleman from Piper Sandler tonight that a number of universities, colleges are sending students home, going online. As a district, yes, we are prepared in case we do have to shut down our buildings. So we have been meeting central office, Mr. Brown, building and grounds, Mike O'Brown with technology, a number of key stakeholders have also been communicating with the board about this plan. Questions have come in, are we ready and are we prepared to go online? Yes, the district was authorized to use up to 5 days for flexible instructional days by the Department of Education. If we have to enact this plan, we are prepared to do so. More information will be forthcoming within the next 48 hours as we move forward with developing the plan. However, I would rather be proactive in this situation and environment, knowing that the news that we have been hearing on the hour, daily, nightly, indicates that the virus is currently spreading across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There have been no confirmed cases in Allegheny County, but I could probably assure you that within the next several days, we will hear something. So with that,
Thank you for your optimism.
Well, I mean, it's just,
Prepare for the worst.
yes. prepare
Hope for the
worst.
best, prepare for the worst.
So please be on the lookout for emails, skyward blast, messages either on the local news outlets or on the website for information related to a shutdown. Again, we are not advocating or having one right now. We are preparing for one. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.